There's something you need to know about me before I begin. I am dead. And I know what you're thinking. She doesn't look particularly dead, right? Well, you might want to tell that to my family. They declared me dead 13 years ago when I first took steps to escape the abusive marriage that they had arranged for me. And now you're probably thinking, oh, she's from some remote developing country, right? Actually, I'm a born and bred American. I grew up in Brooklyn, in New York City. Let's talk about a human rights abuse that many people assume doesn't happen in America. Let's talk about forced marriage. In the insular, ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in Brooklyn, where I was raised, I was groomed basically from infancy to become a wife and a mother. I attended an all-girls religious school where I received a limited education that focused on God and cooking and sewing. I actually had to sign a paper when I was in high school promising not to take driver's education or college entrance exams. I was never given the choice of whether to marry. That was a given. I was never given the choice of when to marry. That was going to happen as soon as possible after I finished 12th grade. I was told that I had a choice of whom to marry, but this so-called choice was limited to the potential matches that the matchmaker brought to my family. I got to go on a limited number of so-called dates with my match, during which we were never allowed to be alone together or to have any physical contact. So I was a clueless teenage virgin who had never before been allowed to talk to a boy, and I was given a matter of hours over a period of a few weeks to answer my family and the matchmaker and everyone standing there watching me, tapping their feet, waiting for me to decide, you'll marry this stranger, right? No was never really an option. I was too scared to push back against all that pressure, too scared to be the only one of my friends still single at age 20, the only one damned to a lifetime of singlehood in a community where being single is considered very shameful. So I went along with my engagement at age 19, happily, silently. I endured a traumatic, and I later learned entirely unreliable, physical exam to confirm my virginity without complaint. I walked down the aisle to my execution wearing a big smile and a god-awful gown. Let's talk about discovering that your new husband is violent. For me, it meant cowering in terrified silence the first time he punched his fist through the wall in a blind rage, only 1 week after our wedding. The first time he threatened to kill me, only days later. Let's talk about being forced to stay in an abusive arranged marriage in America. In my religious community, I had no reproductive rights. I was not allowed to use birth control, and I was required to have sex with my husband. My first child was born 11 months after my wedding, and pretty soon I had 2. I had no financial rights. I was not allowed to work. I was not allowed to maintain my own bank account or credit card. I had limited legal rights. I was not allowed to divorce my husband. Under religious law, only he could divorce me. So really, the only way out for me would have been if my family had agreed to take me back in. Let's talk about betrayal. My family refused to take me back in. I was trapped in my abusive marriage for 12 years before I managed to overcome my fear and escape with my 2 daughters. And now let's talk about honor violence in America. My family punished me for daring to escape by shunning me. My parents and siblings declared me dead. Yes, shunning is a form of honor violence, and yes, honor violence in all forms happens in the United States. I want you to try to imagine for a moment the panic you would feel if everyone you loved suddenly cut off all contact with you.